Hello there, and welcome to What's Your Story? I have a fascinating guest for you today. Her name is Julie Jones, and Julie is an ex-police officer, I should say a former police officer, and a SWAT member. Now, it's interesting because I never think of women being on a SWAT team, but she was. And Julie knows that there's no real promise of tomorrow, and so she coaches individuals to break through their fears, live the best life that they can without regret, and to have the courage to be who they are meant to be. And I think that's fabulous because that's kind of what I do too. But Julie, glad to have you here with us today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me on the show, Judy. I'm excited for our conversation.
Well, I think the audience is going to love listening to you because you have so many interesting things about you. I mean, you've been an international bestseller with your books, what, 6 or 7 times, something like that. And you're a practitioner of NLP and hypnosis and mental and emotional release. I mean, I can't wait to hear what you've got to tell us about all of these things. So, welcome. Glad you're here. And let's just start out and say, what are you doing today? And why are you on this show? And how did I meet you? And what's coming up for you in March that you're excited about? And there's just so much. So, just tell us your story.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for the opportunity. Let's get to the most important thing. Like, I met you and I was really excited to meet you that we are going to be speaking at an event together in March of 2024. Thrive Women. And I know I was really honored to be selected, and I'm sure that you were just as excited. And the journey that we're on together, I love it because it shows me, and it shows so many, I think, women, that we're all about collaborating rather than competing.
Yes.
And I think that for a lot of us, that's how sometimes we were brought up, is to compete rather than to connect and collaborate. So that's what I'm super excited about today. I mean, it's hard to believe we're like at the end of another month and how fast time goes. So I'm always excited about inspiring people and having the opportunity to have a new audience to speak to about really truly how to be in the moment, how to live in the moment, and stop waiting for tomorrow because there is no promise of tomorrow.
Boy, that's true, isn't it? So what really prepared you for this current career that you have, this passion, this project of being a coach and helping other people to be the best they can be and to live their best life? What prepared you for that?
Well, it's been kind of a journey. When I was younger, my parents really taught me the importance of giving back and volunteering. So from little on, I've always been, at different events, helping my parents. My father especially, he was known to be a great cook. So he would cook at church festivals and for church bingo and like all these different events, and I was always brought along to be able to help him. And I loved that servant's heart, being able to help others, and not really recognizing or always realizing it wasn't about me, it was about others. And I've had a long career in looking for those opportunities to be able to always give back. So for me, the switch to coaching and speaking happened because I was a police officer. So as a police officer, one of the hardest things I ever did in that career was to give death notifications, to let people know that their loved ones weren't coming home. And I had to remain stoic, right? Like, I had empathy, but I wasn't able to show the emotion of how, like, that really impacted me. And being a law enforcement officer as well, because you are doing so much of that, I really did start to shut down emotionally. And at the young age of 57, then what happened to myself personally was my mom at 57 was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. And when she got that diagnosis, it really shifted everything, because my parents had been of the generation that you wait until you retire. Like, we're going to have this amazing life once we retire. Now, in my parents' case, they were lucky because my dad had retired at 55 and my mom was only 52. But she was already showing signs of the disease. They were just misdiagnosing her. And so just 2 short years later, after we received the official diagnosis at the age of 59, she passed away and took her dreams to the grave. My father's dreams went with her because like that she had been his life. And in that moment, I realized that I didn't want the same thing. Like I didn't want to die with my dreams going to the grave. So I made the decision that I was going to do something that really had much more of an impact for people and to inspire people really, truly, again, as I said earlier, to stop waiting and start living in the moment and start living out those dreams that are so important to you, because nobody dies with regretting what they did do. They die what they, regret what they didn't do.
Yes, yes, they really do. So what was a defining a moment that shaped you for who you are today?
It really truly was not only the passing of my mom, but then 30 days later, my grandmother passed away.
Oh,
And so like really two strong female influences in my life that were suddenly gone. And, honestly, I spiraled into depression. And there was so much questioning of like where I was headed and what I was doing. And it was through the love of people, right? Like people reaching out and caring and saying, okay, like, I mean, really it was my ex-husband telling me, listen, I'm not able to live with you like this. So like, you got to figure out what it is that you're going to do. So
mhm.
like I've always had a lot of resilience. I've been knocked down a lot in life. And I said, okay, Julie, you've got this, like figuring it out and moving forward in the direction of what I wanted to do. And again, I think for myself and for so many people, sometimes we don't know exactly what that looks like, but it's at least taking a step into action. Like I
Yes,
wasn't just sitting there waiting for life to come to me or life to happen for me. I was going out and making it happen. So making the decisions to say, okay, this is what I want to do. What does that look like? And, I coach other people, but one of the best things that I ever did myself was start on a journey of personal growth as well as hiring coaches for myself.
mhm.
Like, I don't have it all figured out. Nobody has it all figured out. But knowing that there's other people that can support me as I'm able to support others, that really truly was defining for me.
Yes, yes. People are always surprised when I say I have a coach. They're like, well, you are a coach. Why do you have a coach? Well, because I need someone to run my ideas past as well and hear what they say. And it doesn't mean I have to do exactly what they say, but it's sure good to get some recommendations, isn't it?
Well, it's a sounding board, right? Because, like, for all of us, it's just that's why people hire coaches is they hire coaches for either the accountability or for what I call the 360-degree view. Like
Yes.
most people have these filters and blinders, they're looking at life like this and they don't see what's possible for themselves because they're stuck in their patterns. So a coach is going to help you to take that 360-degree view of what is possible for you to see things that you may not currently be seeing yourself.
Wow, that is so true. That is so true. What surprises me so much is I meet people that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and they're more insecure today than they ever were when they were younger. It's like something about life has beat them down. And I want to shake them and say, you've made it this far. You can go on, you can go forward. Julie, what are some of the challenges that you faced that you had to overcome and how did you overcome them?
Well, as I said, the death of my mom and the death of my grandmother, just 4 short years ago, my father passed away from undiagnosed pancreatic cancer. So like when he received the diagnosis, he was gone 17 hours later. And there's a lot there. And then my own challenges, I will say, because I'm very transparent with it, my own challenges with alcohol. I did not have a healthy relationship with alcohol. And December 27th, 2001, I made the choice to give up alcohol, and I say forever, but you it's a choice day by day to remain alcohol free. And I know that if I hadn't made that choice, everything that I've accomplished since that point would not have been possible because of how alcohol was a crutch for me. It was an emotional crutch. I would wake up a lot of times not physically feeling well. I'd say I'm going to have one glass and it would turn into a whole bottle of, I was a wine drinker. And then, from that point on, it just really impacted me because I not only lost like sometimes like one day from being hungover, but that day and then maybe possibly the next day was when I finally felt like myself to be able to do something. So there have been a lot of different, ups and downs. I always say that my life has not been rainbows, unicorns, and sunshine. Another example is that right before I was to release my first book. So I remember the day very clearly on November 6th, 2021, we were at a wedding, my husband and I, and he collapsed from a seizure and he literally died and they had to resuscitate him at that wedding. And he was in the hospital for 5 days. I was scheduled to release my first book, Stop Waiting, Start Living, on November 17th. And my publisher came to me and said, do you want to move forward or do you want to postpone because of everything that I was going through with my husband? And, I thought about the title of my book and I'm like, if I had pushed it out, I don't know if it ever would have been out, nor would the other 5 books that came after that have happened if I wasn't clear on the decision that I was moving forward. As much as I had personally going on, I had to live by example. And so the book came out on November 17th of that year and went to international, bestseller.
Yes,
And, but those are the choices sometimes that we're all faced with. None of us has this easy road. None of us. We all have things that happen, and it's how you respond is what makes the difference.
it certainly is. It certainly is. And, I'm not surprised that you might have had an issue with alcohol. I know many police officers that have faced so many situations and seen so much that the rest of us haven't seen, that it would drive me to drink. That's for sure. So good for you that you overcame that. That's absolutely wonderful. If you could go back in time and tell your younger self something, some advice that your younger self would need to know, what would that be?
It would be a reminder of that you are enough and that stop worrying about what everybody else thinks. Right? Because when we really recognize that we think that everybody cares, right? Or that everybody is watching you, but really people are focused in on their own life and themselves. They're who you are is, matters most. And I often, say that you are a gift from God and you were put on this earth with a particular message. That message can only be heard from you. So go out and speak your truth and speak your message, right? And don't care so much about what others think. And, I think about how I was bullied in grade school and high school. And now I think about where I am today. And it's I know that those things happened for me, again, for the resilience to bring me where I am today, but to remind my younger self, you will get through it. You will truly get through it and come out on the other side shining bright.
Yes, that's for sure. I remember when I was a teenager, I was very conscious of what everybody thought about me. And one day my dad sat me down and he said, why are you so conscious of what everybody thinks about you? He said, the truth of the matter is nobody's thinking about you. They are thinking about themselves and their own life. They could care less what you're doing. And I was in shock. I was like, what? I thought I was the center of everybody's universe. And he's making it clear, no, they don't care about you. So I was like, oh, okay. And I've had to remember that as I grow older, as a speaker, I actually fell off the stage once. I walked out front and the spotlight hit me and I fell into the audience and fell right off the stage. And I thought about that, and I thought my dad probably would have said to me, they're glad it wasn't them, so quit being embarrassed about it, So that's what he would have said to me. So I know you haven't had a lot of failure in your life, but if you have had failure, how do you handle that? Do you use it as a stepping stone? Do you go forward? Do you say, oh well, that happened? How do you deal with it?
Well, it's interesting that you should, like talk about that because I now define failure as feedback. But early on, like in my 20s and 30s, I really had a fear of failure. And so much so that I think it prohibited me from like going after some of the things that I really wanted. Like for me especially, like, and I think for a lot of people, this idea of failure really can hold us back. And when I realized, like back in probably my late 30s, early 40s, that it's just a form of feedback. It just shows me ways that didn't work. And there's an infinite amount of ways that will. And uh, like, I mean, I guess like the only way, like maybe, I don't even know, like for us to really stop ourselves in life is death, right? Like, because like you said, I mean, you could have let falling off of a stage stop you, right? Like you could never have gone back up and spoke again, right? But it was how you handled yourself and how like you picked yourself up and you're like, it's okay. And that's everything in life. Like when there are things that happen, like my businesses have not, always had the level of success that I've wanted them to have. But one thing I know about myself is that I'm tenacious and I don't give up easily. And so, and again, I hire experts to help me in their arenas of expertise to say, okay, like you just need to tweak this little thing. See, I always think of the meme, and maybe you've seen this picture, Judy, where it's like the miner with the pickaxe and he's burrowing and he's like 3 feet from gold and like he turns around and he walks away. And like when I have that visual picture like embedded in my mind that it's okay, like just keep chipping away and it's going to happen. It's like maybe the only truly thing that is a failure is to quit.
Mhm.
Just find the ways that can work for you. And it's not the same way for everybody. It really isn't. What's worked for me may not work for you, but I can tell you that like if nothing else, I can be a cheerleader. Like find yourself a great cheerleader that's in your corner that's, pushing you to be the best version of you.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that's what coaching is. We really are cheerleaders for people. And I teach art at UNLV, and I have art students that are doing amazing artwork. And people will say to me, you must be an amazing art teacher. And I say, no, I'm not even a very good art teacher. What I am is a great confidence teacher. I teach people to believe in themselves. And if they believe in themselves, then they can paint, they can do whatever. And that's what I do. I help people know who they are and how good they are at what they do. And that's what I've seen about you too. You're very good about encouraging other people and reaching out to other people and letting people know that you care. And I'll never forget that when I lost my partner, you were the first person on the call to say, wow, I'm so sorry. I'm here for you. What can I do? And I thought, what a neat person she is. I hadn't even met you in person, and you're reaching out. So you're one of those people that helps other people, and you make a difference in the world, and that's what's really, really important. So
Thank you for Judy for that because I do want to just touch upon that because I'm really all about kindness, right? Like I think as human beings, especially from the pandemics, like we've lost a little bit of that. Like we just went into such like isolation that we forgot that we're in this together. We're
yeah,
human beings having a human experience. And like one of my philosophies that I live by is that even if I just meet you for a moment, I'm going to make eye contact, I'm going to say hello, and I'm going to give you a smile because I'm recognizing and acknowledging you as who you are as a human being. See, none of us has it figured out. And all of us like have hurt or sadness or anger or whatever it is. But like if we can just, maybe come together a little bit more and just express that kindness in any given moment when you realize that somebody really needs it, because we've all had our share of heartbreak and, like great things that have happened to us as well. We're human beings having a human experience together.
Wow, that's such a great point. You've had a very interesting life adventure. You've been up and you've been down and you've been up and you've been down. Uh, what are some of your personal achievements that you're the most proud of? And don't be humble here. Tell us what you've achieved that you really feel, okay, this has made a difference. I'm glad I did it.
Well, you know what? There's a couple that come to mind, but like one of them that comes to mind is that at age 46, and I'm proud to say I'm 55. Like I love to share that, I always say I don't act 55, I don't look 55, and I'm really proud to be 55. So at 46, I competed in my first bikini competition on stage, and I took fifth place. So I was really proud of that, right? Because it was something that, I mean, talk about really putting yourself out there, right? Like
Yes,
strutting around on stage in a
there's no way
bikini.
I would do that.
So that was really like an incredibly like proud moment for me to know that anything I set my mind to is possible. My recent certifications, as a master practitioner in NLP and mental and emotional release, there was a lot that went into that. And the fact that I continue to always strive and grow and to be the best version of me for other clients, is really important to me. I've always been smart academically. I graduated second in high school. I graduated college with honors. And even like to the point of being on the SWAT team as a law enforcement officer. And the reason why that is such a proud moment is that I didn't make it the first time. Like I was only the third female hire on this particular department. And when I went out for the SWAT team the first time, even though I'm 6 feet tall, I didn't have enough upper body strength to get me over the 6 foot wall. Like people would think that that would be easy, and it's about upper body strength. And one of the gentlemen, police officers that was assisting the test, he decided to boost me. And that disqualified me. I knew it disqualified me. And I didn't want to be boosted. I didn't ask for that. And so when I was told, and I could tell that the sergeant had a hard time, I'm like, listen, it's okay. I'm going to work out harder, and I'm going to do what I need to do to make it on my own. And the second time I tested, I made it on my own, right? Like that. So again, it's those kinds of things. It's, like sometimes saying yes and not knowing what the outcome is going to look like. So last year, just like I started a television show and didn't know what that was going to look like, but I said, okay, I'm going to make this happen. And I did. And I just look back throughout my entire life and, some of the awards and recognition, and those are probably just a couple of the highlights that come to mind so quickly, is that I really am very blessed. I'm blessed that I have been able to experience life in such a big way.
You're amazing. Just
Thank you.
amazing. I'm so excited that you and I are both going to be speaking at this Women Thrive event in March. It's a summit that's 4 or 5 days long. And I think we're both very honored that we were selected because there's thousands of women around the world that would like to be a part of this. And what are you going to talk about there? What are you going to present?
So it's going to be, a version of one of my keynotes that I talk about, which is stop waiting, start living. And it's such a passionate platform for me because of the fact that I see it all the time, that we are waiting. And, you talked about people, as they get a little bit older, sometimes they let fear, like stop them in their tracks. But I also think that for a lot of people, when you reach a certain age, like you realize that time really truly is short. Like, again, looking back and saying, how did I get to be 55 and not knowing how much time that there is left? Now it's almost like, you're running to accomplish everything that you want. But I don't want people to put themselves on the hamster wheel. See, there's a difference between like accomplishing and living the life that you want to live, but live it with experiences, live it with love, live it with not the have tos, but the get tos in life. And like I think about my 18-year-old nephew, who, has spent a lot of time. He lives in Wisconsin. He has spent a lot of time with me out here in Arizona for his spring breaks. And this year was his senior spring break. He graduated from high school, and I wasn't sure, like, of all the opportunities, like go hang out with your friends or do whatever, like what kind of spring break are you going to do? And he asked me if he could come out here for his senior spring break, bring his girlfriend, and that they could spend the time with us. And I was like, of course you can. And it's not about like the things that I don't buy him stuff, but it's the experiences. It's the time together. I mean, we played board games and, like we just had fun together, which I think that for so many of us, we forget about. It's the simple things in life that really matter most.
Oh, that truer words were never spoken. That's so important. And I think kids today are so wrapped up in their video games and their television and everything that's going on that they don't have a lot of the experiences that we did of climbing up in the tree and sitting there reading a book in the tree or stealing an apple off the neighbor's apple tree and eating it with a salt shaker, So I do think that those simple times are so very, very important. And I'm glad that you made that point. Our time is drawing near here. So I want you to tell my audience how they can reach you if they'd like to know more about you, how they can find out more, how they can contact you if they need a coach like you, and how to get your books.
So everything can be found on my website, which is juliejones.biz. That's BIZ. And the books are on there. My social media is on there. You can book a free 30-minute call with me. Just, just to connect. That's all it's about. It's not about sales. It's about really connecting heart to heart and, like helping you again, that you met me for 30 minutes. And if that's all we ever met, but that I made a difference in your life.
Well, you made a difference in my life, and we didn't even have 30 minutes until today. But thank you so much for being with us. And we will put your information up on the screen so people can see that as well. And thank you for joining us today. It's been a wonderful experience being here with Julie Jones and learning more about her. And I hope you'll join me again next week for another one of my interesting guests. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.